Welcome to Architrave Gaming. I'm the Archmaster. Nice of you to come by. All right. Today, quick or short, we don't really know now. Lesson, information on something we discovered recently. You get to share our journey with us about role-playing and about immersion. Here we go. So, I have been struggling to enjoy video game role-playing games like The Witcher 3. I tried The Witcher 3. Oh, it's acclaimed. Everyone loves it. I get there and I just can't get into it. I just don't care about Geralt or anything going on. It's just like, I want to look at the systems and the magic for inspiration and the setting and the tone, but I just don't care about Geralt. I can't roleplay him. I don't know what this guy would do. He's not me. I've tried playing Fallout 4, which we all know. It's like, there's hardly anything in that character anyway, so it's not like the character gets in the way of your role-playing. But still, I can't feel like that person, right? I cannot get immersed in that character. And I've even tried doing tabletop, where I'm making this character. Oh, I'm going to play a dwarf. I'm going to play this human fighter. I'm going to play blah, blah, blah. And, I can roleplay. I can do it. And I can do it well. I can get into the mind of the character and do what he would do. I can roleplay. But I can't get immersed in those characters. Not easily. It's a spectrum. I can get 20%, 30, 50% immersed, but that's not what I'm going for. I'm going for the arch game. I'm going for the arch dream, for full immersion. I want to be this character. I want to think and feel what they feel. Not just, oh, what would this character do? Or even first person, what would I do? If I don't really feel like the character, I don't know what I would do, right? The character has to be close enough to me that I can feel comfortable role-playing him, right? So essentially, if you're a 50-year-old biker gang guy and you're playing a role-playing game and you want to role-play a 12-year-old girl, you're not going to be able to be immersed in that character because you don't know what it's like to be a 12-year-old girl. It's just not possible. The level of immersion that you can achieve with that roleplay is very limited, right? That's the essence of what I'm getting at here, that I'm playing all these characters and the level of immersion that I can achieve is limited, and I want the heights. I want the best. Immersion is very important. That's kind of like the whole point of my game, and world and setting and all of it, is to make you feel like you're there. Live another life in a waking dream. That's the tagline. So something we realized the other day was, so I was talking with my wife about the video games I played, the Elder Scrolls. I always played the same character in the Elder Scrolls. I mean, technically not the same character, but in my headcanon, he was the same. In Morrowind, I was this dark elf, fiery red eyes, all that. Oblivion, he was more heroic, but he was still the dark elf. And in Skyrim, I was this super mean, angry guy. I made his face so evil looking. He had the black eye shadow. He was just like, ugh. And I wore a dragon priest mask, Vokun, and I was like, no one may see my face or hear my voice and live. Like, I was the biggest, baddest, coolest guy on the block. No one could touch me. I was better than everyone. Super prideful. Of course, that was the time in my life that I was super prideful. So anyway, all of these characters, I realized this is all me. And my first experience playing Dungeons and Dragons, I played a dark elf. And that was just automatic. And all of them are essentially a battle mage. I used some melee and I used some magic. In D&D, he was a 10th level wizard, which was really cool. I got to actually lean into the magic side of it because I didn't do that enough in Elder Scrolls. Yes, my very first character was a 10th level wizard, and my GM was so crazy. He's like, yeah, the game doesn't really start until 10th level. Everything before that is 2 weeks, so you can start 10th level. Oh, and instead of picking your spells, you can have a master spellbook that has every spell in the game. I was like, all right. Again, I had no idea that was too much, so it took me forever to prepare spells. Anyway, I was super powerful and everything, although I died at the end of that game and lost, and it was just phenomenal. Best GMing session I've ever experienced, best game I've ever had, which is pretty much the only game I've ever had. Anyway, it was awesome. So, all that to say, I noticed a pattern. I'm always playing this dark elf, and he's essentially the same character. He reflects me at different times in my life. When I'm 13, 14, 15, I'm really prideful. Oh, I'm hot stuff. Look at me. When I'm a bit older, it's more the heroic. Oh, there are better things to go for in life. And then when I'm older still, it's like, the humble Morrowind. It's like, I have a destiny, and I will fulfill it, and I'm this neutral arbiter. I'm the Hortitor, the Nerevarine, the protector of the people, the servant of the people, right? It was very, very interesting. And then in D&D, I was this, rejected drow from the Underdark, go to the surface, sunlight sensitivity, and it was a very humbling experience. And so that was the time I was going through in my life, being humbled. And so it was all very interesting. It felt very much like me. I was completely immersed in these characters, and I role-played them. And I realized that, wait a minute, when I'm playing Geralt, Rivia, when I'm playing these other games, the Outer Worlds and whatnot, I'm realizing I just can't get into these characters. I'm not role-playing them, and that's why I'm not having fun. Because I enjoyed Elder Scrolls. I enjoyed all the games that I enjoyed because I was role playing in those. But then I realized I'm not just role playing some random character, right? If it's some random character, those are the ones I cannot fully role play and fully get into the head of. It has to be someone that's similar to me. It has to be a version of me that's translated into a fantasy world. And I realized, wait a minute, I have one version of me. It's this dark elf character, and he can be translated in different games and whatnot, and different times in my life. But it's always me. It always very much feels like me. It is this very intimate, personal version of me. Like, this is the portrait of who I am. This is the portrait of my soul. And it is translated into a game world, and then I can get immersed. Then I can jump into this guy because he is me. And so I realized that is how you get ultimate immersion. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm gonna play a dwarf," and I'm a human, so I have no idea how dwarves live, and I have no idea what it's like to be 400 years old and never see the sun and live in an all-male patriarchal society where we craft all day. All the stuff that has to do with your elves or your dwarves, etc. You don't know what it's like to do that. Your level of immersion, your level of roleplay could be spot on. You could intellectualize it and be like, oh, this is what it would be like. You could have a master's degree in psychology and you could roleplay it flawlessly. But you wouldn't be able to get very immersed in it because it just doesn't map to your experience. That's not your soul. That's not who you are. And so this is just a bit of advice that I'm giving to myself and I'm giving to my players. And it's going to be in the book that, hey, if you want to play the arch game and reach the arch dream, you want to be completely immersed in your character, you have to find who that is, your main character, what I call the portrait of your soul. You have to find the portrait of your soul. For me, it's a dark elf, battle mage. You have to find the portrait of your soul, define them, figure out who they are, and then play them. That's when you can roleplay and get fully immersed. My wife played a character that, in our session 0, that character, I went through and I said, all right, well, what are things you're struggling with? What are things that you want to explore in real life, in your personhood, etc.? And we went through, I kind of tricked her. I was like, all right, we're going to make 3 different characters here. Make this one about XYZ, right? And so I'm like, what thing is interesting you? She's like, well, I want to make a character that, runs away from home, etc. I was like, all right, let's make a different character, backup character, because this is a deadly grimdark game. And she made a different character. And then a third one. I said, great, these are all the same character. We combine all of these backstories. So she had such a rich backstory. It was so full and multi-layered and multifaceted. She had all these different objectives in life and whatnot. It was awesome. And that character felt so much like her. That was her. She felt totally like that character. She felt the connection. So much so that she was the proactive player in the game. And she was the star, the protagonist, because she was the only one that actually had a completely multi-layered character that was her. She role-played the portrait of her soul, and no one else did. So everyone knew at the table, she's lead, she's main character, she has main character energy. Not in a bad way, but because she was proactive. She's like, this is me, I have objectives, I'm going to go do things. And so much so that when her fantasy husband died, she cried at the table. She was bawling. She was head in hands just crying and yelling, why would you make me do that? Because she had to kill him. It was really sad. I can give details later. She had to kill him, and she was just so upset that she had lost Brencax, that big Draken guy, and she was just so upset that she'd never see him again because, in my game, it's said and done. No takesies backsies, no revisiting stuff. He was grimdark, so worst possible outcomes, right? Your husband dies and you have to kill him for a really cool reason. Anyway, that I knew she's totally immersed. She is this character. She feels a loss, a personal loss. Now, it's been a year or 2, and she tells me, I miss Brencax. Can we play with Brencax again? She has a connection to him because that was her. She knew Brencax. It wasn't her character Hope knew Brencax. She knew Brencax. It was very personal. So anyway, this is the heights of immersion and the heights of roleplay and the heights of emotion. This is those. This is how you get those legendary stories of characters that cry at the table and all this because they took a serious part of themselves. Or several, multiple parts, and they channeled it into a character. They did not just play some random character. I'm going to roll it up randomly, play a character. You can do that. Go right ahead. Lots of fun. You can roleplay. That's how you practice your roleplaying. You roleplay a character different from yourself. You practice how to get inside someone else's head. That's fine. That's good. But if you want immersion, you want to be fully in there, find the portrait of your soul. Roleplay the portrait of your soul. Let that be your main character. Don't be afraid to roleplay the same character for every campaign for the rest of your life. until you get bored and whatnot. And again, the portrait of your soul might change. He may be a dark elf one day and then a warrior the next, etc. Right? It can change throughout your life. Mine changed a bit throughout its life. It may not always be a dark elf. I'm actually thinking that it might actually be a Mora, which is the race I created. And I probably created it because it was part of my soul that wanted to get out. Anyway, it can change over time. That's fine. But this is how you get full immersion. This is how you get completely, totally invested. Anyway, that's what I have for today. Thank you for watching, liking, and subscribing, feeding the algorithm and all that stuff. And see you later. God bless.